So taking a look at number 3. So for number 3, I'm going to count how many sides I have. So I notice that I have 5 sides. Well, conveniently on the front side of my sheet of paper, I already did a pentagon. And a pentagon, the interior angles need to add up to 540. So I can take each of these angles and make sure they add up to 540. So I have 142 plus 2x plus 3x plus 14 plus 3x plus 14 plus 2x, and that has to be equal to 540. So all I did was work my way around the pentagon and make sure I added up each of those angles, because the sum of the interior angles needs to add up to 540. So now I'm going to combine my x terms. I have 2x plus 3x is 5x. Okay, plus 3x is 8x plus 2x is 10x. So here I have 10x. Next, I need to add up my constants. 142 plus 14 plus 14. So to do this, I suggest just having your calculator out and just punching in the numbers as you go around. So that adds up to 170. And all of that needs to be equal to 540. So now we're going to continue solving for x. So we need to subtract 170 from both sides. And then we get 10x is equal to 370, because 540 divided by 170 is 370. So next we're going to divide both sides by 10. And when we divide both sides by 10, we end up with x being equal to 37. So all number 3 asked was that we solve for x, and we know that x is equal to 37. So we're completely done with number 4. Let's take a look at number 5. If the measure of an interior angle of a regular polygon is 135, find the number of sides that have the measure of an interior angle. Measure of a regular interior angle. So this right here is the formula we need to use. We don't know n, we need to find n. So I have 180 times n minus 2 is equal to 135. But don't forget, we also have to divide it by n. Well, this is where it gets kind of to be some tricky algebra. So because it's divided by n, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by n. So when I do that, these n's cancel out, so I don't have to worry about dividing by n anymore. So I have 180 times n minus 2 is equal to 135n. So before I can go about solving for n any further, I need to take and distribute in this 180. So 180 times n is 180n. 180 times a negative 2 is negative 360. And then that's going to be equal to 135n. So now I want to get my n's on the same side. This is a positive 180n. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to subtract 180n from both sides. So once we've done that, we have negative 360 is equal to 135 minus 180 is going to give us a negative 45. So a negative 45n. So now we want to take and we want to get rid of that 45. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 45. So when I do that, the negatives are going to cancel out, which is good. We don't want to have a negative amount of sides. 360 divided by 45 is 8. So it's actually an octagon. So there's 8 sides, which makes it an octagon. Okay? All right, let's take a look at that last problem there. It asks us to find x. Now that looks crazy complicated. But guys, here's the deal. Remember that any exterior angles, the sum has to be 360. So all of those exterior angles have to add up to 360. So I'm just going to write all of that out. We have 5x plus 4x minus 6 plus 5x minus 5 plus 4x plus 3 plus 6x minus 12 plus, I'm going to go on the next line, 2x plus 3 plus 5x plus 5. So I'm just going to give it a second to catch up, and all of that has to be equal to 360. Wow, that's overwhelming. Okay, all of that needs to add up to 360. So what I suggest doing is going through and looking at each of the x terms. So have your calculator out in front of you. Here's what I think is the easiest way. In your calculator, do 5 plus 4 plus 5 plus 4 plus 6 plus 2 plus 5. Enter that all into your calculator, and those are your x's. And when you do that, you should get 31x. Then you're going to take out your calculator, and you're going to go through, and you're going to do the constants. So do -6 minus 5 plus 3 minus 12 plus 3 plus 5. And when you do that, you end up getting a -12. And still, that has to be equal to 360. So now we have a more straightforward problem that we can solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and add 12 to both sides. And then I get 31x is equal to 372. So now I need to solve that for x. Well, that 31 is being multiplied by x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 31 to cancel it out. And then I get 372 divided by 31. That is going to give me 12. So for that one, I get that x is equal to 12. Okay, let's take a look at number 6. So for number 6, what is the degree of the exterior measure of an exterior angle of a regular decagon? So I need to see what a decagon is. And a decagon is 10 sides. Well, if you look at your formula, to get the measure of a regular interior angle, all you have to do is take 360 and divide it by the number of sides you have. 360 divided by 10 gives you 36. So the measure of an exterior angle of a decagon is 36 degrees. Last but not least, let's just take a look at these. So this is just some vocabulary you're going to need to know. So convex polygon is kind of what our regular polygons are going to look like. Everything is pointing outward. A concave polygon is where when we have parts that are kind of indented, they concave, they cave in. Okay, so that's something you're going to have to be looking for when we move forward with this unit. So that concludes your note video today. Go ahead and show me your completed note sheet when you're done, and I will hand you the homework. Make sure you have this note sheet out, especially the front side, as you're going through the homework. Thanks for listening.